Hey everyone, welcome back to the All Music Matters That podcast. I'm your host Brian. And joining me today is a special guest hailing from some part of the other side of the world. It's Tom Kyffin with the band Rinoceros. How you doing, brother?
Very well. Thank you very much for inviting me.
No worries.
That's
Thanks for coming on.
Just me, I'm afraid. So
Yeah, we got used to doing a whole bunch of band. Actually, I want to say this is actually the first year we've actually done a whole bunch of like bands coming in together at once, or at least the band members all at once, I should say. So that's all good too. So how you been recently? What's new?
what's new? Nothing's new. Been working really, really hard on getting stuff together. It's a very long and slow process, but we've released something at the start of the year. So we put that out there just to put it out there, and we have a couple of things in the pipeline that are being worked on, which we can't talk about right now, but they will be coming out fairly soon, and hopefully you will be one of the first people to come across it. So
Yeah, maybe host on the McGrip show, which thank you for sending some of the material over, and also thanks for responding as well too. So that's all good. And I guess which part of the world are you hailing from, actually?
Well, this is coming to you live from North Wales, which like everybody goes, where's that? It's like if you go to England, go up a bit and turn left. There's a little land which nobody knows about. So that's where I reside anyway. So it's the Conway Delta basically, which is Blind Lemon Davis, very unfamous, but he plays in the local pub with a ukulele. And it's just an area of outstanding natural beauty and about nothing else really. So but it's a nice place to live. So but the band actually come from all over the world. So yeah, we're not tied to one spot.
I see. All right, we'll get to elaborate on that in just a moment, but go back to Wales. You always hear about it too, but I think it was more because of the history too. Because it always seemed like there was some Lord of Wales who was always doing something in history-wise. Maybe something with like the War of the Roses or whichever English Civil War was probably going on too. So it's always an interesting story too. I guess, how's it this time of the year?
It's Magellan. Have you ever heard of Magellan?
I'm afraid not, no.
Magellan, right. Magellan is the next sort of place over, like a couple of you work in miles, don't you? So it's a couple of miles over that way. Apparently he was set off a ship from over there and he discovered America apparently. So okay, that's fine. Don't know how true that is. Very unlikely, I'd imagine, but
yeah, we always give the credit to Christopher Columbus, who happened to be the
first
one. Yeah, I
know. It's like
it's either that or it's the Vikings of the Norwegian style coming over.
Well, you see, we're Welsh, so we make up our own history completely. So,
Oh, geez, you guys are probably worse than us, to be honest, then.
Probably, yeah. It's more fun that way.
Actually, I think there was an anime I watched. It was Vinland Saga, and I think it covered how the Vikings, back in I think before 1066, they came in to England right there, and they did their own little invasion and everything too. So I don't know if Wales was involved yet. They covered that or not.
Wales is historically, that's actually one of the original British people, and it's spread across the tip of England. This is actually true. The French, you got the Vikings. They all came down the bottom. They pushed up, but they never really overtook Wales. And then there's a big Celtic connection between Scotland and Ireland. So they're more likely to fight off Irish raiders than Viking raiders. Romans came and sort of ploughed their way in here. Romans sort of gave it back after a while, didn't want it. It was like, it's a bit wet up here. So, yeah. And we spread out to Cornwall, the top of France, which is Brittany, and I think there's a valley in Argentina. And then I believe Florida is the largest population of Welsh people out of Wales because they all go there to retire. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's where the winter birds go.
That's the one.
Yep, that's for sure. Now get a little bit of history too. So, all right. But we're here for music-wise. We're not here for history. So, Tom, I want to welcome you to my podcast. And the way it's going to work is just going to ask you some questions. Let's get to know you more as the musician, but also as the individual, too. And then we'll get to know more about the band as well. So, ready?
Yeah, shoot.
All right. So, let's start with the first one right here, I guess. Who are you? And how did you become a musician?
Who am I? I've always been a musician ever since I was a teenager. Always been in bands. I gave it up for a little while, and then I came back to it much later on, and the world had changed completely, absolutely completely. Everything had changed, so I sort of hit a hard reset, and now this is the fruits of the hard reset. So I don't care anymore. Have no interest in like being a major star or any of that business. Just want to make music because that's what I do. And I'm just putting it out there, and I really don't care. I don't care on the response. I don't, but it would be nice to get something. But it's everything is a bit homogenized these days, and there's no reality in it. So this is genuine music. I'm putting it out there. If you like it, follow it. It's, to see the journey. It's going to be a very long journey ultimately. So, and just join in. Come along for the ride.
I guess, what instrument do you play? Are you a guitar player?
I'm primarily guitar. So that's what I've been playing for years and years, but if I can make a noise out of it, I'll do that. So probably not very well, but you never know.
Do you jump around in like various groups before settling into Rinoceros? Or I guess, what's the story with like your musical journey?
A musical journey. When I was younger, I was on the periphery of sort of bands that were about to be signed and taken on. It didn't happen. I got a very good insight to the music industry there. That was one of the reasons I stopped doing it. I didn't like it very much. As I said, now it's all changed. You can do it yourself. I think it's a safer option to do it yourself. I think it's even worse than it was previously as an industry. Yeah, and I think you can actually engage with people easier these days, which is nicer. So you can reach the world quite literally at the touch of a button now, whereas you couldn't before. So that's the big thing. Before it was lots of gatekeepers, I think, massive gatekeeping. And then the gatekeeping got the gates got opened, the horse bolted, and now there's so much of it. It's very hard to stand out. So I think the best policy is just to get out there and do it, and don't worry about it. I must admit, if you want a career in it these days, it's going to be difficult. Whatever you do, music itself has changed. It's not what it was. What was the last LP you bought?
In terms of LP, you mean like how the CDs are, or like just listening?
You bought CDs. Even CDs are like considered a bit. Oh, who buys a CD these days? But yeah, what was the last one that you bought? A physical one?
I mean, that was years ago, to be honest. Too. It's all on Spotify. It's all on iTunes. It's pretty much all digital material this day. So I know what you mean.
But it's all. But even then, there's a big market for cassettes now. So it's like, wow, who's even got a cassette player? Oh, you have in my car because it's so old. But or 8 tracks.
Or vinyl. I know vinyl's kind of making a comeback as well.
Yeah, it's massive. All these things are coming back. So it shows you there are little groups of people that are collecting certain things and they miss something. So it's become slightly more splintered. But so you got to know who you're going for. But for me, when I've always collected music. So if you got a 7-inch single, you had the B-side that wasn't on the album. So you bought the 7, and that was the lure for me. So you ended up with this big pile of collected items that I can't get rid of that, you know. So hopefully I'd like to bring that back in some way, you know, even in the digital world. I want to keep people guessing and moving and doing things like that. So, I mean, what we've released now, excuse me, I'm recovering from a terrible cold. So what we've got now, we just literally released it on video. It's not a physical copy at the moment, but we'll gradually move it forwards. But if you actually follow all our platforms, you'll find the B-side somewhere. So it's a case of you have to look. If you're that interested, you'll join in the journey, you know. So it's like, makes it a bit more fun, you know, and hopefully you'll laugh along the way. So we'll see.
Are B-sides like the blooper sort of sides, or not like the compressed, sort of clean version, we should say?
Do you know what? The B-sides are the bits where you try out stuff and you have some fun, and it's like you got a chance to do something different. Whereas before, it's like you have to have it in this style, but the B-side you could go a bit wacky on, you know, or a bit crazy, and do something very, very different. So I mean, that's part of the approach as well. So hopefully, not every release will sound the same, but it's. So if it can go absolutely crazy on B-sides, that'd be awesome. I prefer the B-sides, by the way. So
yeah, you get to a little bit more freedom and a little bit more fun to do. So I see what you mean. I would say, what was your first CD? Because I think mine, I know I kind of inherited like a couple from like my dad and my sister. So I was always like thinking like, boy, I actually don't remember what my first CD was. I want to say it was a Newfound Glory album, and that was a punk band back in the early 2000s. So. As what was your first CD, vinyl, or hard copy?
Right, the very, very first record I remember owning was 7-inch Paranoid by Black Sabbath. And it had the hole missing.
Got the Morning Sword.
Yeah, it had the hole missing. And I had that, and I had Thin Lizzy, Rosalie. I remember those two records I had growing up, but like you, it's like I remember going through my grandmother's record collection, and there was like, do you know Cliff Richard? Sort of the British version of Elvis. Nowhere as good, but he was like the British version of it, and he was around in the 50s and 60s. He started off British rock, so I had things like that to listen to in my grandmother's collection. The occasional Beatles song. What else did she have? The Seekers. And the New Seekers. So if you'd like to teach the world to sing. So I got all this Perry Como, that was the other one. So I got this really bizarre range of stuff. I was just listening to anybody's collection and choose the only one that kind of had records. So I had things like that. And then growing up for me, you go around to your friends' houses, and it's because they have big brothers and sisters. And it's like you go and raid sort of their record collection, have a listen, and I grew up just at the tail end of punk, so for Britain, so it's 77 onwards. So we had Bowie, Alex Harvey Band, Slade, Gary Glitter, sort of big stomping 70s things. Then the end of the 70s was like, that was scary because we were little kids, and it was like punk. It's scary, but we got to listen to things like Sex Pistols, Stranglers, all sorts of various groups. Then we became older. Then it became 80s indie, which I think is my biggest influence. So I can always remember buying The Cure, A Forest. So if you haven't heard of Cure, A Forest, it's a fantastic record, brilliant record. I still remember it to this day. You know, it's really special to me. Long gone in my collection. I've still got it somewhere in MP3. But it made such an impact. Music made such an impact on my life about then. Because I think it was really special. The 80s. Yeah, Echo and the Bunnymen, Teardrop Explodes. It was real excitement. Nobody knew what they were doing. They were just making music for fun. and excitement, and then the New Romantics came out. That changed everything again. You know, people were dressing up. So I think I always find music is quite cyclical, and I think we're in a period now. I think the world is such a weird place at the moment. I think you're going to get an element of punk coming out, and then everyone's going to start dressing up again and looking good and feeling good and want to forget about the bad things. So I think we're sort of coming back to that. So hopefully, sound-wise, we should like click with something. Might not, might miss it terribly, you know. And it's like, oh, they sound weird, but it's yeah. So I mean, that's where our influences come from, and that's hopefully it's a modern version of what's been before. But we'll see. We'll never know. But give it a go.
I'm gonna say we regress back to the 80s in this case, because I think everybody was like, "Oh, we can't wait for the 2000s." Then 2000s comes, like, please, let's go back to, please, for the love of God, let's go back to the 80s. So I think
I in my downtime and my time off, I was DJing a lot, and it's like 80s. Everybody goes back to the 80s always, and if you want to please a crowd, go to the 80s, and it doesn't matter what level or age they are. The 80s seems to have it in a nutshell, and it's like, okay, I kind of railed against it a bit, but you can't escape it. You really can't escape. But then I think it shows you how, like I said before, it was such a massive influence. Yeah, and I don't think there's been anything since. It's like, wow, you know, I'm sure you could go to other people and say, what's your favourite 80s song, and they'll tell you. But from the 80s onwards, I couldn't tell you anyone. I couldn't really. I'm just lost. It's like, no, sorry. Yeah, but I could tell you about Perry Como. So go figure that one.
Yeah, especially the 80s when they were like starting to really push the boundaries of like sound and speed as well too. Then you heard about the American thrash scene that came out in the 80s there with like Metallica, Slayer, all those guys. And then really just started like pushing the limits above and beyond too. And then that's when you Brits started like doing your own little style too, and then eventually started fusing what today's metal scene kind of is as well.
Yeah.
Because I actually do a lot of music with Napalm Death and Bolt Thrower, which are my two favorite British metal groups. So
I mean the yeah, you know, historically there's a lot of metal here. So I've always wondered how the new wave of British metal actually impacted on America. I mean, you've got Iron Maiden and groups like that, but you've got people like Saxon. You got all these British groups that just you could say that they're doing death and thrash long before that, but they sort of, because they were so extreme that they sort of never were popular. But even then, they're sort of coming back, and people are actually recognising what they're doing. You know, the very fact Black Sabbath are still going is pretty amazing. You know, so I got told they were a B band, a bit, not an A band, a B band. But it's like, you know, they're still there being a B band, and they're still influencing stuff. And their careers.
There's for 2 more shows with Ozzy Osbourne, to be honest.
Yeah, is he? I don't think he's touring anymore, is he?
No, he's not.
No, I think he's actually finally finished. But it's like, okay, but that's hell of a career, and I don't think you'll see things like that again. I'm looking at Taylor Swift and what she's doing. You know, it's massive. It's massive. She's breaking film records. You know, with her Eras tour. Her tour is just this juggernaut. It's huge, and the amount of money she's earning, and it's like, who's comparable to her? I think the only one possibly is Beyonce for impact and size. But after that, who's next? Will there be another one, or will they all be avatars?
Something like that. I'm not too sure. I hear too much about Taylor Swift, especially the whole thing with like Travis Kelce, and then the Kansas City Chiefs always keep winning. We're just begging, like, please, can the Kansas City Chiefs just lose already?
Is it a conspiracy theory?
I mean, they'll say it's a conspiracy theory. I don't believe it. It's just.
Don't you?
No, I mean, I don't know what they're thinking, to be honest. Because I mean, people just say what they want these days. It's a matter of free speech. So
it's true. She's actually an alien.
is that what we're saying?
Well, that's what we believe. We're doing some research, and we believe she's actually an alien. So, and she has world domination that way. So we're quite convinced about that.
Well, they're going to take over the world with a white Michael Jackson. So I mean, they didn't do something right.
See, you've been warned. We've warned you. If you're not going to heed the signs, it's like, there you go. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't get into that. Please, I don't know how to get into that too. I don't. My motto is no drama. Let's just make it that.
Fair enough.
All right. Let's get into the band a little bit too. I guess. How did you guys form Rinoceros? Because you're not in the same geographical region, are you? You're in different parts of the world.
No. How did we reform? I had quite a life-changing accident, and I started playing the guitar again and just writing music. I just got back into it that way, basically, and then it was like I was really enjoying writing the songs, and it was like, okay, if you've got to write the songs, you've got to record them, you've got to put them out, and blah blah blah. And it was like, okay, but I just want to write the songs. But it was like, no, you can't. You've got to do it properly. You've got to record it properly. You've got to play it to someone. You get a publishing deal. And it goes on like that. And then I have friends around me. There was loads of different friends who were all musicians, and it was like, oh, okay. And I was doing different things with different people. And I thought, this is really, and I was really enjoying it. So it's like, I'm not playing in a rock band. I'm not playing in a metal band. I'm not playing in a punk band. It's like I can play in all of them. And it's like, wow, how cool is that? You know. So, and some people would certain. Well, the last project we worked on was quite blues influenced, so I had lots of blues people who were interested in the blues playing. So that was cool. But then you get all these threads, and I'm pulling them in, and basically the sound comes out because that's kind of what we are, what we sound like, and there's nothing we can do about that. It's like the sound of your own voice. That's what you sound like. You just have to accept it. So that's pretty cool. So it's a bit of a learning stage and development stage, but it comes out as it comes out, and maybe we can purposely try and do something slightly different next time, or we'll just go with the vibe and run with it, you know. But you get asked that a lot as a musician, and it's like, you know, we are Rinoceros. That's what we do. That's what we sound like. And we always get asked, who do you sound like? It's like, we sound like us. But people want to pigeonhole you all the time, and it's understandable in a way, but not necessarily useful. So yeah, it's art. For me, it's art, and it's like, okay, the biggest art for me is writing the song. I enjoy the songs. I like the songwriting. The rest of it, I'm not so bothered about, but I have to do it. To get to what we've done already is involved an incredible amount of work, doing a lot of things that I don't like or doing or particularly bothered about doing. It's like social media. If you're not doing social media in a band, it's like, you kind of lost. And it's like you can spend more time doing social media than actual music, and it's like, to me, there's something very, very wrong if that's what's happening. But other people seem to be doing it, and maybe I'm just like slightly skewed, you know, not capable for the modern world. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't bother me. But I'll keep up a presence. We will keep up a presence. But to us, the music is the most important thing. So anything else is just like fairly irrelevant, quite honestly.
Let's just say the money on the side for whatever you make of your music is just icing on the cake too. So I was paying with a gas bill. That's what I always like to say. So.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I don't want to be negative about anything, but being a musician now is just a nightmare. It's a nightmare. If you get any money out of it, you're doing well. Seriously, you're doing so well. There's venues are closing. Maybe it's different for different regions, but I mean, for Britain, the places to play are closing down at such a rapid rate, and there's no access for anybody to actually get out and play. And if you do go out and play, there's nobody there, and it's dying, and you can see it dying, and it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible, and it's dire, you know. I know in America you have lots of bar bands and things, and you do this whole circuit, and that keeps it alive for you. But we don't really have that here, and Europe's been cut off to us now since Brexit. To go and actually tour is incredibly difficult. The logistics of it are just unbelievable now, and I'm not talking about equipment. I'm talking about all the forms you have to fill out. You can only be in Europe for a certain amount of days, and then you get kicked out again, so you can't take a crew over, and vice versa, coming from Europe to here. So the whole like I said, the whole industry has just changed, and it's like, okay, we were thinking about franchising the band, so it might be a much easier move, you know, just to do that. Send one person out, and it's like you can play with the franchise band, you know.
Exactly. How does that work in terms of franchising a band?
Oh, you decide you want to be in Rinoceros. You pay lots of money, and you set up a gig, and one of us will come over and play with you, and we'll just take the money. So
then we take the money and run.
Yeah, we'll just take the money. Yeah, we'll just take the money. Thank you. Actually, we might send out a cardboard cutout, a flat Stanley.
And we'll just sign the autographs real quick, and then we'll use some of the money to buy beer afterwards too. So
yeah, that's the one. You know, it's like it's thinking smart, thinking positive.
That's for sure. And I guess did COVID play sort of a role in like everything kind of getting shut down and dying as well, or do you think the writing was on the wall
COVID
before it?
COVID was. I was just about to step foot out of the house with a guitar to go and play, and I had like an hour set, and it was like bang. That was like, okay, I'm not doing that then. But that just put everything back by a couple of years. And then coming out of it again, it's difficult. Maybe this is part of the reason why there isn't such a large audience anymore. People are still slightly scared of coming out, or they're in a mindset where they're not coming out. It's nothing like it used to be. Economically, it's very expensive to go out. So just to buy a drink these days is like you need a second mortgage. It's ridiculous. You know, it's like, my goodness, you know. You can't afford to smoke if you want to smoke, because that's like even more expensive than a pint of beer. It's not of my doing, but I don't think people are actually putting music or going out as much as they used to be. Maybe because they're on Spotify and they got more access, their attitudes have changed as well. It's a very strange situation. It's not how it used to be, and I think you've got to think very differently and very creatively.
That's for sure too. I guess did you have any brushes with COVID? I guess how was you and your bandmates and your family?
I certainly saw people who had it. It didn't happen to me. Didn't happen to anyone close to me or the band. Actually, not the band. There was one band member. He was actually a doctor who inhabited it quite regularly, so didn't see him for about 2 years. But yeah, I saw its effects. So I think everybody was affected in some way, or knew someone close enough. I don't know how your response Ours was pretty poor, to be honest. It was a bit chaotic. Nobody really knew what was going on. I really enjoyed it personally in the lockdown. I used to go walking. I could hear birds. I walked in the middle of the road without being run over. I thought it was fantastic. There was less stress. There was less pressure. I found, not for everybody, but I actually quite enjoyed it, strangely. So yeah, we got to see, what was Joe Exotic? Got to see Joe Exotic. So
I would say it was good for me too. I was able to finally work from home and did that for about 2 2.75 years. I was like, that was the best part of it. So yeah, couldn't really travel overseas, do anything like that. I mean, we had to kind of stick in around the States, to be honest, too. Still traveled, but it was best to avoid doing it during the wintertime unless you wanted to go to Florida, like we were mentioning earlier. So that's what you mean. I guess, how is the scene these days in Wales? And I guess the neighboring little counties, too. I don't know how you guys kind of did a little geographical region with Britain.
It's right. There are lots of local bands around here, but we're so cut off. There's nowhere to play. We've got Liverpool and Manchester fairly close. Bigger scene in South Wales, much bigger scene in South Wales. Up north, there's pretty much nothing. If you got anything going on a gig, it's a tribute band. So it's personally, I'll be hitting my head against the wall. Not that I got anything against tribute bands. The venues have to fill them up somehow. If those people are happy playing somebody else's music, awesome. I did toy with the idea of being a Rinoceros cover band because I think that would just fool people straight away. Like I said, venues are falling at a vast rate. Festivals are falling at a vast rate as well. They're collapsing. They can't afford to be open. So music-wise, everything's a bit up in the air. It's not. There's always musicians wanting to play music, always, and that's the big thing. So I've noticed more buskers, and the buskers are really good, but it's the outlet. There's very few outlets, so it makes it very difficult. And then the promoters are moaning that they're struggling, so that doesn't help. So it all looks pretty bleak, which was part of the reason of sort of setting up like we have set up. We've released these things I do, and just checking out our target response. Our target response is coming from America. It's coming from Australia, Canada. So we're actually working out where we're getting response to. I always remember talking to somebody years ago. And he said, "No, you could have a career as a musician. No, you could be famous in Poland." And it's like, "What do you mean?" He said, "We're massive in Poland." And it's like, "Yeah, we live off it, you know." And it's I'd never thought about it like that. And it's a global world now, so you don't have to have one little market. And I always remember Rodriguez, Sugar Man. Have you seen the Sugar Man film? Searching for Sugar Man. I highly recommend you go and see the film. It's this one guy. He was late 60s, so it was 69 to 71. He released 2 albums. And then he just disappeared. He was American, sort of Latino, I think. But he was big in South America, Australia, and South Africa. And he just disappeared. Released his 2 albums, disappeared. And then 30 years later, in the Searching for Sugar Man, they went to find him because he had all these royalties accruing for like 30 years. And they found him. And it was like, oh, he's alive. He's still alive. And these albums are absolutely classic. He's like Bob Dylan, and they're superb. Really check him out. Check out the film. Check out his music. He's died now, but and he gave him a late career. So again, he's tapping into, like, he's got these areas that he was popular in, and it was kept going. I went to South Africa, and I said, "Welcome to South Africa. Here's your gift." And I was handed this record, and it was Cold Fact, his first record. And again, that record made such an impact on me, and it was like, "Who is this?" He said, "Oh, really famous. Everybody knows it here." And then you start talking to people who travel, and they go, "Oh, Rodriguez, yeah, wow," and it shows you how something can go under the radar and still be popular. And apparently all this money that was good, basically he got screwed out of all his money, and in the Sugar Man film, his daughter was chasing it up for him, and I think they got some. But you just go and watch the film. The film is brilliant. It's a brilliant film. So they go looking for him, they find him, and he has these big careers, and then he's playing all these big concerts at the end of his life, and it's like, cool. So it's quite a journey. So hopefully mine won't be quite as hectic, but if he's making his music, he's made his music, he's put it out there. So to me, he's like a true musician. And that's what it's about. He puts something out there in the ether, and it's coming back to him. So, and he's coming back with good, lots of vibes and good love. So it's like, cool.
You're just on your deathbed, and you realize that you have all these royalties from all the music you made. It's like, now you tell me. So
it was like Norman Greenbaum, Spirit in the Sky. They found him in a trailer. They just found him in a trailer park in America, and they said, "Oh, here's a check for $200,000." And he's going, "What?" It's like, "Yeah, your song. It's been a big hit." And so, yeah, it's nice if that happened. So, even if I'm dead, if my children get the check, that would be cool. They can go, "Oh, maybe Dad wasn't so bad."
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, though, it's good to see you have made it through COVID too. So hopefully better days are ahead of us too, and hopefully the music scene makes a comeback in your neck of the woods. So
hope so.
We'll see what happens. But I guess let's go and jump into the gear a little bit too, because I guess, do you roll those two guitars, or how many do you have?
These are my two little babies. I've actually, I love Gibson guitars. I have a, I wouldn't say it's expensive, but it's like, it is a proper Gibson, and I love it to bits, but I never play it. So I always end up playing Fender. So I just play Fender. I just find it easier. I gravitate towards them. I always end up playing them. Just as COVID hit, I actually bought a fancy Fender, which is an Acoustasonic, which is like, it's a cross between an acoustic guitar and an electric guitar. And I've actually used it for recording, and it's been the most versatile guitar I've ever owned. And it's like, I'm a total convert, and it's like, yeah. So I've got a plank of wood sort of heavy Fender behind it, but it's like, the Acoustasonic for me is brilliant. Stick it through pedals, and it sounds awesome. It's lightweight. Used to run it into a Vox amp. So I had a Gibson and a Vox amp, which I went to a Fender to a Vox amp. I've actually changed from the Vox amp to a Fender amp as well. So I've just ended up with Fender. I just gravitate that way. Don't know why. Just do. Can't help it. Sorry. I'm just a sucker. It's
something divine just reaching out to you, just be like, "Tom, this is your conscience speaking. Listen to me."
It is. I must follow. I can feel my nose doing that. It is. It's really strange. It just feels really comfortable to go that way, and it feels right. So whatever Leo Fender did, he did it right. It's like, yep, it works. But yeah, I try not to get too over too much equipment. It gets too much. I used to have loads of guitars at one point, and it was like, I don't even play them. They're just sitting there doing nothing, and it's it was just a nightmare. So I got rid of them, and I thought, right, I'll keep some. I've got one lurking in a guitar case which I haven't got out for yet. I keep saying, "Oh, I'm going to sell it. I'm going to sell it. I'm going to sell it. I'm going to sell it." It's a Gibson Epiphany. I don't know. I haven't sold it yet, so it's like, yeah. It's like kicking your dog, isn't it? It's like, don't do that. You can't do that. You can't kick your own dog.
No, you can't. And actually, you should probably do like your own little Hard Rock Cafe. Just put it right there in a nice little glass bin right there, and just have somebody sign it and say like, "Hey, this was signed by Brian May of Queen." So there you go.
I don't think anybody want my guitars. So.
I mean, hey, you gotta do something about it. Everybody loves it when they get a signature from somebody who's pretty legit too. So
that is true. Yeah.
So that's all cool. I guess let's go ahead and jump to this. I guess your process of like creating a song first too. So I guess do you guys write the lyrics first and then put the music together, or vice versa?
It can go either way, to be honest. Always look out for some form of inspiration. I read a lot. I watch TV, films a lot. You hear something in conversations. It's that thing of walking around with a little book and noting back ideas, or you spontaneously create a melody while you're doing something really bizarre, and you think, "Oh, I've got to remember that." So I've always had piles of books, always recorded notes. Playing with the music is like, you play something, you think, "Oh, that sounds good," and then you try putting something over the top. Sometimes you leave it, sometimes you pick it up, sometimes you roll with it, sometimes it goes quickly, sometimes it takes a bit of pain to work out, but it's reaching out to the universe and saying, "Come." So the chakras must align.
I'm going to say, or the stars aligned, or whatever you want to say.
That's the one. Or you can be quite blunt and say, "Right, today I'm going to write a song, and it's going to be about this." Just as valuable. Certainly, I've written songs, come back to them years later, and changed them. So it's like, yeah. I approach things that rules don't apply anymore. There are no rules.
You got to bend the rules somewhere, yeah.
They're there to be broken. So that's probably that loud screeching in the corner. Yeah. So yeah. Just it's creation. So, and if you're happy with it, sometimes you have to go, "I have to leave it now." It's like doing a painting. When do you know you finished the painting?
It's the nails just dragging on the chalkboard, yeah.
Yeah, that's the bit. But it's that final bit where you go, "Finished." There we go. But it's like, when do you leave it? And it's like, even the painter doesn't know. So I could have worked on it more, but if I did, I'd have ruined it. And it's like, okay, music's the same. I think there's a point. This is another thing for starting to release stuff, because it's like, yeah, you could procrastinate for years and years, and it's like, nah, come on, let's do it. If it does sound a bit iffy, maybe we'll redo it in years to come. Maybe we'll go out and do it live, see if it's different, record it differently. But it's got to get out there first of all. So we were just out there and we were playing, and people go, "Oh, have you got anything released? Have you got anything released?" And it's like, no. And we had loads of demos. It was just stuff. It was like, "Oh, that sounds good. Record it quick before we forget it," And it was like, so we had loads of demos. So Friday said, "We got the demos. We'll just release loads of demos." So we did, and that was just to appease people. And then radio stations started playing some of the demos. And that was like, oh, okay, because they weren't brilliant, but they're obviously acceptable to be played. But it was like, okay, if you're going to play it as it is, it's like there must be something in it. Maybe you should record it better. Oh, that's a good idea. So it just kind of went from there, and it's like it's got to this big thing now, this big stage, and it's like currently we got about 8-9 songs for an album, and then we got singles in between, and it's like, okay, but we've got to record it all so it sounds okay, which is a monumental task. And then because everybody's all over the place, they're doing different things at different times, and it's like, yeah, all right. So the logistics is thrown on top of that. But it gets done somehow, or it will get done. It's getting done, working on it. We are actually having a little break at the moment because we all need to. We're all tired. We're tired. But yeah, we all know we're like, oh, we're tired. Really tired. But
was it a 9-to-5 job?
On top of that. But it's been such a rush, you know, to get to that point. It's like, oh, let's release it. So we released it. It's like, oh, God for that. Now we've got something else on the back that's working its way forwards, which we aren't in control of. But when it does come to light, you'll see it and you'll hear it. And yeah, it's the waiting and then trying to build on something. Somebody says you can't release that yet. Why can't we release that yet? Because it's not the time. It's not ready. It's got to go with something else. So the business side of it impacts on everything. It's crazy. It is crazy, but that's just the way it works. So yeah, we're just going with the flow. We'll try to do everything as soon as we can. Love to do it tomorrow. Can't do it tomorrow. So.
Is that your little mascot down there in the corner?
That is Stinky.
That's all good. Hey, Stinky. How you doing? All right. So that's all cool, too. I guess you kind of highlighted like some of the challenges you have faced, too. But I guess if you want to list like a top 3, because it seems like most of the ones that I've seen in these interviews in terms of like challenges you face being a musician, or in this case, an indie musician for that matter, it seems like it's marketing, working multiple jobs, I guess even time constraints too, if you want to say it involves family or anything else. So I guess which one of those have been like the biggest challenge you guys have faced?
Biggest challenge. That's a really good question. The business side is the biggest challenge, but that's manageable. But you've got to be clever. You've got to be really clever. It depends how you want to do it. Like I said, I do find social media taking over a lot. I don't particularly like social media, but that actually takes up more time than anything else. And you've got to be popular, and you've got to be liked, and you've got to have a following, and they've got to be, you know, genuine followers. And it's like, yeah, and it's like, it's so vacuous, and it's like, actually, I'm doing this because I know I have to do this. It has worked. My advice there is to start on one platform and then spread out, and do it slowly, and don't worry about it. And certain platforms, actually all the platforms are different and work in different ways. It's like TikTok. To be a TikTok star, I don't give a monkeys if we're a TikTok star or not, but you will possibly hear us on TikTok. We are on TikTok, but we don't spend much time doing it, but we do post there. Instagram, I think, is probably our next one to sort of push. We've looked on Facebook long enough. We're tired of Facebook. Don't like Facebook. It's like, restricts you too much. And everybody's really worried about likes and shares and this and that. And it's the one thing I've come to realise is people like you. It's people like the independent radio stations and podcasts. They are the important people. They are the future of music, definitely for indie music. You're giving a voice to those people. I have met so many indie musicians through people like you, from their playlists, from their show rotors. I've met some very, very cool musicians in pretty much the same situation. I've heard some amazing, amazing, amazing people from all over the world. And that for me is the biggest part of it. So you do meet people, you do become part of a community, and it's not one you'd think you'd be in, I think. There's a lot of people I've noticed that are very stuck into what they do. If it's not doom metal, it's not music. If it's not disco, it's not music. And it's like, get a life, open your ears, help support people. Really help support people. I don't care if it's a country artist in out of Mongolia. Yeah, if they're doing good music and they're doing it how they want to do it, you need to show support to each other, and it really helps that you can very, very quickly find people on social media platforms who help others quite easily. Yeah, you can see who promotes other bands, and that for me is the big thing. That actually helps you more, because other bands going, hey, this lot of girl. Hopefully one day when we say, right, we're going on a world tour, all these other bands will say, hey, right, come with us, and hopefully we can play a gig together, you know. Don't know, try it out. It's connecting, isn't it? It's connecting with other people, and and it's global now, so that changes everything. Been having some really, really interesting conversations with people about Canadian dubstep. So, yeah, there you go, you know. But they've got a scene up there, and and they're encouraging it, and they're doing it. And it's like awesome, you know. You're keeping music alive, and for me, music is really important. How people perceive the music is a different matter, but it's like these are people making music. And that should be encouraged. And if they can make money doing it, go for it. What else is difficult? Being in a band. I think you must enjoy doing it. You must enjoy doing it. It does become repetitive. It does become a job. Best advice I was ever given was by several people was practice for at least 5 minutes a day. Just 5 minutes. And the theory is behind that. It's really clever because you don't spend 5 minutes practicing. You go, oh, that was interesting. Then it becomes 7, then it becomes 11, then it becomes 15. Oh, where's that hour gone? You know, and you're enjoying what you're playing. Whether it'll translate or not, but you're still playing. And I think that's the important thing. And a fairly famous musician said that 5 minutes a day thing, and that was like, oh wow, okay. I noted that really well, and that was like, and it's they don't practice 5 minutes a day. I have to add that they don't need to because they play 5 minutes a day. But yeah, that's the most important thing, I think. Enjoy your music, enjoy it. There's don't see much joy these days. Even in the angry music, not much joy. You're just making angry music. Where's the joy? You can tell if somebody's doing so. I think that's pretty obvious, but I think that's. I think music's kind of lost its way a bit. So it seems a bit false to me. You have to go and look at more local starting up bands that are trying something different, trying to achieve something differently. Yes, okay, you can be in a covers band, but you know, nothing wrong with that. You can make a perfectly fine career being in a cover band if that's what you want to do. Ships Cruises, go and be in a cover band. If that's what you do, you can say you're a professional musician. Does that really get you there though? It's yeah. So what are you doing it for? You ask yourself the question. It's like, do I want to do this as a career? Am I creating a bit of art? For me, it's about art, and it's inherent in my body. It will come out whatever, and if I can make enough people hear it, the better. I'm not saying you'll like it, but if you hear it, awesome. You know, and if more people I can get to hear it, you know,
all the more the merrier, as they would like to say too.
Well, hopefully, yeah,
Hopefully. So we'll get to that point. And I don't know about being a cover artist on a cruise ship too, because I've interviewed a couple guys who worked on cruise lines, and it was almost like how bad like the North Sea is. For instance, I don't know if you've seen any of those YouTube videos that show like those giant waves.
Yep.
Like the North Sea and everything too. So they're like, nah, not for me. I think I'll stick to dry land, to be honest. So we'll see what happens. Actually, who was it that reached out to my post on Facebook? Because I put up the McGriff show. Thinking like, hey, it's got some opening spots for anyone who wants to share the music. So I guess, was that you or was that somebody else? You said like, hey, here's Rinoceros. Check us out.
No, that was me. I'm a blatant opportunist. Yeah, it's like, oh, it's an opportunity. I'll grab that, because if you don't grab it, somebody else is. So no, I saw it pop up and it was like, yeah, okay. These things I do just come out, and it was like always looking for those opportunities. That's another thing when you're on your own. You've got to keep looking. You've got to take these opportunities. This is a two-way street as well. It's not just us, it's for you. We're doing this with a couple of radio stations. And you guys become a release for our music, hopefully. Yeah, you're more important than a major station, because you're actually at the ground. You're doing this, and you're doing this for a reason. You're doing it because you love it, which is like, okay, it's clocking that, and then saying, and hopefully you become just a bigger fans of us and what we're doing. And you're like, hey, I've got this before anybody else, and I'm going to play it before I've got, and that's the plan. So it's. I think that's a smarter move. So, it's music for serious people.
You can send to the shots you don't take. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's people like you. I mean, it's the purest form of putting music out there, really. You're interested in it, you care about it, and you're showing other people. I personally like the whole indie aspect, because it means you're free of corporate pressure and power. You're not being told you must like this. It's somebody saying, I actually like this, hope you do. And it's word of mouth, isn't it? So how'd you do word of mouth as a band, without it being a shock job? It's about the music. So it's like, oh no, this group are really cool, and they keep getting played, and it's building up that presence. It's building up presence. Like I said, we're not in it for the money. Certainly not in it for the money. But it's there to put it out there. So the more we can put out with the more people, again, it's getting those ears. So, yeah, I mean, we could spend thousands and thousands of pounds or dollars or euros getting on major radio stations, but that won't actually do anything, because it's not going to the people that would be interested in listening to it. So you can be more precise and tuned into it these days. It's a business thing as well. Yeah, it's. We've played gigs and there's absolutely nobody there. There's nobody there, and we're playing with a band that has 5k followers, and it's like, have you got 5k followers with nobody there? And it's like, okay, so people like you putting more love into what you're doing, and it's important. You're the cradle of the future, and it's important to keep nurturing that. It's an affinity for me, and it's always there to help people. You must always help people. Always give a hand up. Always remember who's helped you. Just remember, always be polite, because on the way down, you never know who's going to not catch you. No, it's. Yeah, I think it's human nature. You have to help each other. You have to, especially now. We need to spread the love. So,
John Lennon style too.
Yeah, no, there's lots of things. I've been turned on to some really, really interesting music that I would never ever had even heard of or contemplated, or yeah, and that's just by other people saying, "Oh, you heard this? Have you heard that?" And it's like, no, it's just opened my eyes. Lots of people are just so locked into like just doing what they're doing, and it's like, wait a minute, hang on. That's an independent artist from Outer Mongolia doing this. Listen to that. Isn't that fantastic? And they go, yeah.
You keep referencing Mongolia. Do you know somebody who came out of Mongolia?
Yes, they I can't actually remember their name. They were a heavy metal band and they were doing Mongolian metal. They were doing all the nose and throat stuff. I can't remember their name for the love or money. You can go and Google this and YouTube it because they're on there. It's quite easy to find, and they're pretty good. So yeah.
There is actually a band, but I think they're an American band called Kubla Khan. So I don't know if that was them.
Okay. Yeah. See, there's another one, and it's like, oh yeah, music's wonderful. Music's wonderful. That's
I would say Mongolia was known for being pretty metal back in the day, to be honest, with Genghis Khan and all that. So
yeah, he did a good job, didn't he, populating the earth?
That too. But what were you gonna say earlier? Sorry to interrupt.
It's no. I mean that was it really. It's I can't even remember now. So.
All right, sounds good. You jumped a little bit ahead too. You kind of fused the whole thing with like advice you would give to like other musicians too. But I guess we'll go ahead and do this one instead. I guess when did you join the band Together group? Have you been a part of it since day one, or did you just recently join?
Rinoceros is me. I am Rinoceros, but Rinoceros is a collective. There can be thousands of people in Rinoceros. We can do whatever we want. We're fluid. I've just spent the past 6 months as undercover Rinoceros, going out and doing covers. Just 2 acoustic guitars and 2 people. Tried it out just to keep playing live, just to get out there, try out some songs. Very different vibe, which has informed our recording. So yeah, we could go out as a 4-piece rock band, could go out as an 8-piece rock band, could be a cartoon on Nickelodeon next month for all you know. It's so yeah, it's me. It's me being creative, and if I'm being creative with other people, brilliant. They're part of Rinoceros. They'll always be part of Rinoceros. They're always welcome to come and go. So it's two-way. Again, it's a two-way street. But it's just me trying to put something out, and if it needs a group of people to do it, we'll do it. So.
Yeah. Actually, I was curious when you joined the Band Together group on Facebook. It was Christine and Greg had put that together, and I wasn't sure. Did you recently join, or were you kind of a member since day one?
I think no. I think I've only started doing the Facebook stuff properly. Rinoceros was out before, and then I joined another band for about 5 months as their singer, and then that didn't work out due to artistic differences, just the usual. Then I came back to Rinoceros, and I thought, right, I'm going to actually sit down and do something. So I actually actively went out to promote Rinoceros. So it's always been in the background, but yeah, I'd say the past year or so, it's like it's started to pick up and start. So that's really where it started. But as I said, it was like pre-COVID. It was just pre-COVID, and it was like, right, let's get this running. Let's not then. Okay, thank you very much. So yeah.
Procrastination got you again. So yeah.
It is. Well, it's when you got nothing to do. So,
we'll just binge watch Midsummer Murders and just do that whole shit again. So
yes. Well, there you go.
And speaking of which, you guys are known for your TV dramas too. First off, you guys got a lot of crime going on around there. What's going on in the UK?
UK is slowly disintegrating into the soggy ground. We're just all waiting for the next election. That's all it is. Like you guys, you know, it's exactly the same situation. We're waiting for the next election. Hopefully it won't go horribly wrong. But whoever gets into power is, you know, it's just going to be the same old, same old. We voted for Brexit, which was like turkeys voting for Christmas. That hasn't helped in the slightest. It's pretty dire, but it's pretty dire all over the world, so we can't complain really. People are just trying to make a living, basically. Arts and funding is being cut left, right and centre. Public services are being cut. But apart from that, this is what I'm saying. He's coming back for a punk moment. He's coming up for a dressing up moment. So be prepared, guys. Yeah, so get the glittery top out and we'll go partying, you know.
Rebirth. There we go.
Yeah, no, people want to have fun, you know. I think there's too much negativity, and it's like, okay, where's the fun coming from? We're certainly not Midsummer Murders. So,
yeah, that's for sure too. It's a good TV show nonetheless too.
Yes.
But I forgot to ask this too. Your lyrics, I guess. What are your lyrics about?
Whatever you'd like them to be.
I wish it was that simple, to be honest, but
yeah, you read whatever you want into them. That's fine by me. Some things are very direct. Some things are very hidden. Some things are very, very personal. Some things are pointed. Some things are definitely making a comment. Whether you can decipher all that is up to you. How you want to interpret it is up to you. I'd say most of the time it's pretty blatant. Lyrics wise, they're not gibberish. They do actually mean something. How you reconstruct that and inform yourself is up to you. Generally, I would say it is a pretty pointed statement most of the time.
yeah, fair enough too. I was gonna say, actually, I had to really dig for your music because I tried Spotify first. I couldn't find your band on there for some reason, so I got to go for YouTube.
If you want to find us for music, it's SoundCloud. That's where all our demos are. YouTube, I'm okay with, but that's a visual medium. So, okay, you need a video for that, which is like, yeah, all right. Spotify, I am in no way a fan of Spotify. I think it is evil incarnate. That has destroyed musicians and musicians' livelihoods. It's a bit like Amazon when it first came in. It just swamped the market and nobody could compete. That's what it's doing now. It's not making money, but it's got the market covered. It's going to be sold very soon. Daniel Ek has changed everything for a musician, saying you must pump it out, you must pump it out, you must pump it out. Whereas, okay, yeah, musicians are generally lazy. But it's like, okay, you're a creative person. You're not there to do it like that. That's what they've turned it into. That's causing this homogenized effect of music. They listen to what Spotify is doing. They take lots of data recordings from what Spotify is doing, and they're making songs for that. And it's bland. It's boring. It's rubbish. If you're going to pay 0.00000 pennies for one play and then say you have to have 1,000 plays, sorry, you can just go and jump, quite frankly. So go to YouTube. Okay, I don't get paid for YouTube. I don't get paid for any of those platforms. But I'm thinking about doing Spotify because everybody uses Spotify. I'm just cutting off my nose despite my face if I don't use Spotify. But quite honestly, I'm not that bothered about releasing on Spotify. So it's like, why can't I just have one place you go to? Why is that such a crime? That's like, it's not actually. So once I get a platform going, then we'll move on to the next one maybe. But yeah, we'll see. I don't know. What are your thoughts on Spotify?
Well, I can see what you mean too. I remember seeing some posts that would be like, "Oh, we got to boycott Spotify because of that 1,000 listens you had to get probably just to get $1." So I mean, I can see what you mean there, and that gets a little frustrated because first off, the company already makes millions, probably close to billions of dollars. So it's almost like, why wouldn't you want to share that more with the musicians or the podcasters, for that matter, who are putting the content out there? So it's what you mean, but at the same time, it's almost like we fucking need it, that sort of thing. So that's why I actually use DistroKid, because then it distributes the music out to all platforms, regardless.
Yeah.
I think except YouTube. I think that one you had to upload separately. But anyway, doing it on those streaming platforms, and I was going to say social media, but that's not right. It doesn't do it on social media. It just does it on all the streaming platforms for you, like SoundCloud, the Spotify, and all that too. And it's only one-time pay, so I mean, or I should say one annual payment, I should say.
I'm not going to well, I mean, you're using that platform to distribute, but it's like I'm talking about Spotify as it's stealing. It's stealing a musician's work, and it's debasing it by saying this is free. Okay, whether you're paying a subscription or not, you're paying nothing for an artist's work that they've actually put a lot into. And Spotify has basically said, well, that's free, it's worthless. And that's somebody's art, and that's disgraceful. As a business practice, that is absolutely outrageous, you know, especially when he's not even a musician. And he's collaborated with the old record companies. Yeah, that's a bit of a stitch up. I remember watching something on Netflix about Spotify. It's a 6-part series, very whitewashed in their favour, you know. And it was like, hang on a minute. There was a lovely phrase: "Home taping is killing music." Have you ever come across that? That was cassettes. That was cassettes. There was a big thing about a blank cassette, and home taping is killing music. And it was a big thing by the music industry. And that's how you wooed your lover. You made them a mixtape. Yeah. And that's what you did. Whether you were recording off the radio or recording somebody's record, you'd stand there with a little microphone. You know, but that's how you did it. And it was like, okay, that was pretty cool. And that was personal. And you kept those tapes. They were very good. Then, of course, Napster popped up. And then Metallica went mad. And then that opened up the file sharing sites. Now, the big bit of information about the file sharing sites was the increase of revenue of the artists that had their work downloaded actually increased. It didn't lessen it, because somebody wanted to hear it, try it, and then they bought it. So, but they don't mention that. So that's the business side of it. It's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. And then, of course, then Spotify came up. Then Spotify just said, "Man, I'm just taking it. I'm taking all your work, giving it out for free." And that's like, I've also, which kind of lines up with AI. There's a lot of talk about AI, what AI is doing at the moment. It's a very big subject. I'm actually part of a court case. I've seen 2 industries decimated by AI, and I'm talking about decimated. Music industry is on its way. It's already got AI in it. It's a little bit more nuanced to it, but already they're doing things with it that I mean, the last Beatles record was AI. So what they can do is incredible, but that is going to further complicate things. So so where's the love of music? Where's the original music? Kids should be playing in rock bands in high school and being able to play somewhere, but there isn't that anymore. And I think it's going to come to a point where everybody just forgets how to do it. And it's like, it's quite a fun, it's quite a basic thing, to go into a room, hear a band like pumping out a song and go, oh, wow, that was good. You should want to dance. You should be smiling. You should be happy. You should be, and that's kind of being taken away. I think that's my biggest fear. That's being taken away, But yeah, it's all changing. Everything is changing. I'm just getting old. That's all it is. I'm just getting old.
I can say how you end up with a conspiracy theory. Feel that.
Yeah, I just need a rocking chair and a porch, Yeah. I don't have the answers, but I can see what's happening around me. Very few people will actually call it out or look at it properly. It's quite a. I mean, the big thing now is selling off your publishing catalogue. All the big stars have sold off their publishing catalogues for millions. Once that's all done, who's next? Like I said, who's next? Who's going to be next? Sorry, I have to go back to Taylor Swift. She writes her own songs. Yeah, so she's going to have a massive catalogue. Ed Sheeran writes his own songs. He'll have a massive. He's probably sold his already. Beyonce, you can't go to Beyonce because she's one credit on a list of 30. But who's going to replace these people? I'm sure they will. There's always people coming up, but are they going to be as big? I don't know.
Something like that. But I can see what you mean, too. So It's a fair assessment, to say the least. Though I despair in this day and age, too. So it's unfortunate, but, I mean, At this point, I guess this whole court case, too, I guess, how'd you get pulled into it?
How do I get into it? Good question. I was perusing Facebook, and somebody said, here's a list of all the learning people that we've used, and I was on that list, and it was like, I never gave permission to be on that list. And then somebody said, I speak to this lawyer, and they said, yeah, we're doing a civil group case. So I think who was it? Midjourney, a couple of other ones apparently. It's about 3 or 4 of them, and it's like, I've never ever given my permission for use. I'm in no way one of these top artists. I mean, you got real artists up there and going, oh, they're real. Yeah. But I was on this list, and it's like, okay. So my work has been used. So probably all those pictures you see with people with like 2 fingers, and they say, oh, the hand looks a bit funny. That's probably because of me. So I'm probably part of that AI to make the hand look funny. It's very difficult to draw a hand. I just fell into it. I didn't know anything about it. Don't know what will happen. Don't expect to see anything happen, to be honest. Pandora's box is open. It's too late to shut the lid. Horse has bolted. We're in it now. I think the best thing to do is embrace what we've got and use it to our best ability. The only thing I would like to see is a bit of fairness. Without one person taking all the money, I think it should be spread out equitably, or at least credited. I think that's the big thing. So,
yeah, love to see what happens, but good luck there, mate. We'll see what happens. Yeah. All right. So, Tom, we breezed through the questions here pretty good, and we're now down to the fun ones. Ready to roll?
Come on, then.
All right. So, let's start with the first one right here, I guess. What would you consider has been your favorite food?
Food. food. I'd have to say profiteroles, but I'm already feeling sick just saying that. I would say pizza, but I think the bottom line for me is a pepper steak pie.
Pepper steak pie. I guess how's that work out?
It's pepper steak pie. I think it's got to be a good one, but that's just like perfect for me.
Well, it sounds like shepherd's pie in a way, the way you kind of describe it.
No. Pepper steak pie is very different. So it's.
I guess there's a picture like a little crust and you just break it open. There's all your steak and peppers and everything too. So
that's the one, and it just tastes gorgeous. That's like. Sorry if you're vegetarian or anything, but yeah.
Oh no, I'm an omnivore, so I'll eat whatever. Or I should say, I'll eat most of what you can throw at me. So.
Yeah, fair enough.
Can't really go too spicy, to be honest, too. It makes for a bad scene for the plumbing afterwards. So, I was gonna say, is there a special like Welsh dish they have in your neck of the woods? Because
Welsh dish, yeah, lamb. Very hot on their lamb. They got a thing called lava bread. Right, lava bread is basically seaweed.
Hmm.
And it's salty.
The way you guys describe it, it's almost like those little bugs who are like just get ready to hatch or something.
Okay, it's a traditional dish. I really recommend everybody tries it who visits Wales or doesn't visit Wales, just to go. You got to try it once. Yeah, and they do this thing called a barra breath. Okay, which is like a how do you describe it? Welsh fruit cake. It's a Welsh fruit cake, and that's awesome. So
sounds freaky, but all right, I'll have to try it out if we ever get out there. To be honest, so somewhere in the UK, I think one of our trips actually involves Edinburgh and like visits all the different parts of the UK. So we'll have to see if we stop somewhere in Welsh or Wales for that matter.
You have to make North Wales, yeah, because nobody goes to North Wales.
All right, we'll see what happens. Now, for next to fun questions here, first off, does the UK do a lottery where like people can win money?
It does. It does. It also does the European lottery. So, yeah.
I don't know how crazy the money gets because sometimes it goes up to 1 point some billion in the US here. So.
Oh, billions! You're talking billions.
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. No, we. It's generally £1 million, but if it isn't one in a week, it gets rolled over. So you can get 17 million. It's not massive. It's certainly not billions. Boy, that must be an incredible thing to have. The Euro lottery actually gives you more. Is a higher, but it's a much broader area. I'm trying to get my head around £1 billion and being that one ticket winner.
I mean, I don't know how it works because each state's a little bit different in terms of like how they'll tax it whenever you win it. But I think it's definitely in the high, like hundreds of millions of dollars, to be honest, even after you like pay all the taxes and everything afterwards. So it's still, I mean, you still got a lot of money afterwards and you pretty much pass it on to the next generation of kids and their generation. You're set for life, to be honest.
Yeah. It's a bit of a lottery getting there, though, which is why it's a lottery, isn't it?
Yeah. But if you were to win that kind of money, I guess, what would you do with it?
What do I do with it? I'd ask for world peace and hunger to stop while I'm on my private jet in the Caribbean on my private island.
Oh, a hypocrite, huh?
Oh, yes, completely. Offshore accounts, you name. Actually, I own the offshore accounts. So,
the shell companies and all those guys.
Yes.
Who hide your money and everything.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough, too. I didn't know if you were going to do something with the music-wise. You could finally be a rock star or that sort of thing.
No, if you got all that amount of money, no. I think I'd be very quiet about it, actually.
Yeah, that's mention it. So I can say why.
It's like I wouldn't care. I don't think I'd actually care. It's like,
just go and stop away.
Yeah,
Go to Florida.
Want it. but it's like, you can buy the best, but it's...
All right, sounds good. For the next one, what would you consider as your favorite movie?
My favourite movie? Oh... Right, I'd have to say Star Wars. I have to say Star Wars. Star Wars had the biggest impact on my life. But
The original trilogy.
Only that one film, not the rest of them, just that one.
Which one?
Star Wars. What was it? New Hope? The
very
very
first one.
Just the first one. Just the first one. The rest of them, absolute rubbish. But yeah, the first one changed my life.
Yeah, I remember watching those like real crazy back in the day because you used to do like the old VHS tapes.
Mm-hmm.
So give you a nice little rundown of how they did everything too. So that's what you mean. Good choice. All right, next one. First off, do you drink by any chance?
Do I drink? On occasionally, very occasionally.
So I guess what would be your favorite alcoholic drink and non-alcoholic drink?
Okay, non-alcoholic drink, that would have to be water, being a pure person. Yeah, no, it'd have to be water. I'd have to, yeah. So, I'd say smoothies. Any kind of smoothie, a non-alcoholic smoothie are awesome. I love those. And for alcohol, there's a Belgian drink. It's called It's made by Hoegaarden, and it's called Honey Blonde. And it's like you hear them writing about amber nectar of the gods and all these things. That's what that is. It's like a lager, but it's not a lager. You collapsed on the floor in 5 seconds. It's so strong. But wow, it's Belgian. It's a Belgian beer. It will knock you senseless really quickly. It's that strong, but it tastes beautiful. So,
I think the first one always came to mind in terms of Belgian was Stella Artois. So.
Okay, that's just lowest of the low compared to this one. Honestly, it's like, so. If you can ever find it, that's what it. So it's Hoegaarden and it's Honey Blonde.
Sounds good, actually.
Yeah.
And, actually, when you talk about the smoothies too, I think like, man, this guy would probably love Sonic. So I don't know if they have some version of Sonic in the UK.
No, not that I know of. We live in North Wales, so yeah, we're lucky to have a takeaway. Yeah.
It's fair enough too. All right. So for the next one, and actually last of the fun questions here, I guess, what would you say is your favorite song?
My favorite song. That can change from day to day and from moment to moment. Of course, my favorite song is These Things I Do, which is just released by Rinoceros. My favorite song.
Sounds killer. Let's go listen to those guys.
Okay, I'd have to say one favorite song. Actually, two favorite songs. It would be Echo and the Bunnymen, Bring on the Dancing Horses, or Lips Like Sugar, which I both think are superb songs. But there are many, many other songs, and somebody could ask me that tomorrow, and it would change. But those two are like, yeah, I think those are good songs. So, yeah.
I think for me, sadly, for Echo and the Bunnymen, it's always been The Killing Moon, because I think it was because they played in that one commercial.
Yeah. Definitely a strong favourite of mine, but I think those other two, there's Lips Like Sugar. There's just something about that song. I just think it's a fantastic song. It's just got everything in it that I like, and it's yeah. Ask me again in about 5 minutes, and it won't be, yeah, it'll be Taylor Swift.
It changes that. Oh gosh, it now comes full circle with Taylor Swift.
Yeah, there you go. See.
All right. Actually, the commercial I was referring to with Echo and the Bunnymen, I think the brand was a BMW one, but it was actually involving all these vampires who were just getting together for like a little campfire bonfire or whatever. And the one guy pulls up with his car, and his headlights end up killing all the guests because apparently it's so bright, it's like sunlight. So, but it was playing in the background there, and then it like played like close out the commercial.
Okay. Do you remember what movie that was for?
It was just a car commercial. It was
Yeah,
basically
do you
just
know
talking about the car.
Mercedes or BMW?
I think it was BMW.
Okay, I've never even heard of that one, so it's worth checking it out now.
Yeah,
So.
I want to say it was a Super Bowl commercial.
May well have been. So it's very. See, you get the Super Bowl, which is like your halftime is just like awesome. That's the most awesome thing ever, and it's like I wish we had something like that. Not in our football. Leave football. Maybe if we did it in cricket, because that's really boring. So halftime at cricket, that would be awesome. Yeah.
They just came for the show, then they'll leave afterwards. So
yeah, I think we should introduce that. I think really cool idea.
Either that or like the championship games for like the soccer and everything too, or in your case, football. They do a halftime with all the big British acts. Do something like that.
They're rubbish. They don't. They do it in rugby a bit, and it's just awful. It's just rubbish. It just doesn't compare. It's just like, and it doesn't work. But we need to do something. But we set something up where it does work, and that's why I reckon cricket. Because you're half asleep anyway when you watch that game. So it's like, do you know cricket?
I've seen it. I don't know how the rules of it work. I just know it's like the British version of baseball.
Right, take baseball, but everybody's asleep. Okay? And then one person's throwing a ball and like, somebody gets up and hits it. And it's just really slow. It's run over 5 days. It's just like dull as ditch water. And it's like, that needs livening up, I reckon. A bit of razzmatazz. So halftime show, I think everybody will wake up. Then it's like, then they'll actually get up and wake up and play a game. So you American guys might even love it then.
Let's see. I mean, we always say the shows after the baseball game is done. That's why I bring like bands like Styx. Yeah.
Is it always afterwards?
Yeah, you can't really. There's not really a halftime show.
No.
For baseball though. It's always after the game is over.
Okay. I remember watching ice hockey, and that was like, I loved the ice hockey stuff with the organ players. It's like those were always good events.
Yeah, I was trying to think. No, they don't do anything like that. They wait till after. It's always like 20-minute like breaks in between, and then they'll bring it out. They'll go and start killing each other again. So
yeah. Well, maybe it's the violence that attracted us to that. It was like, yeah.
Oh, you'll love playoff hockey. Trust me. Those ones.
I'm a very big fan of hockey, ice hockey. I love hockey. Yeah, we do have our own ice hockey league here. It's not quite as it's probably about 15th tier, It's not quite as demonstrative. It's the American, Canadian, and Russian versions. It's like
they're not monstrous or violent as like those guys.
I'd say it's slightly more polite, just slightly, but yeah, no, your eyes certainly open when you see a proper game. It's like, oh wow, that was good.
Well, trust me, the Canadians were pretty crazy back then in the day too. You would have thought the Russians were, but no. The Canadians, if you were a ref, they would almost intimidate you in a way. So I mean, the Canadians were something else. I'll tell you that much.
Canadians are nice. They're always nice, especially when they're beating your face in.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. So, Tom, we're down to one more question right here. Boy, oh boy, we talked for a good bit. But I guess, do you have any questions for me or any final words you want to say before we jump into it?
No, let's jump. Come on.
All right. So for the last question, you might have harped on it a little bit too, but here's how it goes. Given what COVID has done, and obviously it seems you've been impacted in a way both musically, maybe a little bit from COVID as well, but yes, for those impacted in a rather big negative way, I guess what sort of message of hope could you give to musicians and people out there as we try to move forward in a post-COVID world?
Believe in yourself, follow your heart, Don't let anyone tell you what to do. And I'll leave it with that. And do it yourself.
I was going to say, short and sweet, right to the point.
Yeah, no, I think that's the essence of it. So.
I will say, man, you were practically giving long-winded answers when we were just doing the whole thing. Now we do short and sweet. All right.
See, that's all you need. Yeah?
It was save the best for last. There's something like that too. So, in that case, spoke like a true prodigy. So,
cool.
All right. So, Tom, we reached the end of my podcast right here and talked for, well, assuming we're going to edit some of the part out. I think we started about a minute and 30 seconds late into it, but regardless. We reached the end of my podcast right here, and I guess, do you have any final words? Any shout-outs you want to give before we close?
No, I'd just like to say thank you to you for hosting me and allowing me access to public airways. Try not to be too offended by what I said, or be offended. I don't care.
Hopefully they care less about Taylor Swift, to be honest.
Seriously, people like you are vital to the future of music. So keep going, keep the power, keep fighting, keep doing it. And good luck.
Fight the good fights, as Triumph would say. So, all right. And what social media are you on for the audience? I know you probably referenced it earlier.
Social media, we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, we are on TikTok, we are on YouTube. We will possibly be on streaming platforms in the future. If you can't find, it's Rinoceros without an H, and if you can't find Rinoceros without an H, it is Rinoceros _666.
Oh, you dirty dog, you. Yeah.
It's us. Yeah.
All right, sounds good. So, everyone, my guest today was Tom Kyffin, hailing from Northern Wales in the UK right there. He's part of the band Rinoceros. Go hit him up on the socials. I guess if you find him on any of the streaming platforms, not Spotify just yet, but maybe eventually. We'll see what happens. But we'll see what happens. So go hit him up there. Go subscribe to the channel. And also check out the music too. Help these guys out. You guys are going to do wonders out in the world too. So, Tom, thank you again so much for coming on. Stay safe. Rock on. Stay tuned, y'all.
Cheers.